So it's all about how you take that opportunity and do with it. And I like to always give the analogy, it's like a buffet. You can go in and get whatever you want. It's up to you and how you want to fill your plate and what you want on your plate. My university self, I would emphasize the importance of embracing failure as a learning opportunity and taking risk outside of my comfort zone, because I think of each setback or challenge that I was presented with is an opportunity for growth and self-discovery.
You're listening to the East Meets West Pakistani Professional Journeys podcast, released bi-weekly every Sunday at 5 p.m. on YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple iTunes. Welcome to the East Meets West Pakistani Professional Journeys podcast. Today we have Alamgir Khandwala. He graduated from York University with a bachelor's in accounting and finance and completed his CPA during his tenure at Deloitte, where he was a senior accountant. Previous roles also include working as a finance manager at Monroe's. He's currently working as a revenue accounting manager at Uber. Outside of work, he formerly served as the board of directors at SBL, an organization which is focused on empowering youth in underprivileged communities and improve access to education. In addition, he's a Lime Connected ambassador, which focuses on rebranding disabilities through achievements. As a result of his involvement, he's been recognized by York University as the top 30 under 30 changemakers.
It's a pleasure being on here, and thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
All right, so I guess we can kick off. Do you mind just sharing your connection to Pakistan?
Yeah, I identify myself as South Asian. My mother's from Karachi, Pakistan as well. So I have roots and I have family in Pakistan. I was born in the US, Chicago particularly, but that's my connection to Pakistan. When it comes to many aspects of my life, I affiliate myself with Pakistan and being a Pakistani.
Right. So I guess in terms of raising in the West, like how was that experience like for you?
I'd say the experience in the West and just raising up here and growing up, it was a bit unique in the sense that I started off my childhood in US and then moved over to Canada with my parents, and the entire family moved. And it's been good, and it was unique because both of these countries are very multicultural and diverse. So you get a chance to meet all people from all walks of life and all different cultures, races, religions, whatever. However you want to slice and dice the population, you have that in the U.S. and Canada, and particularly because I lived in Chicago and Toronto, both of them are quite diverse, and you had a lot to learn. And it was definitely, whenever I go back, I do sometimes get a culture shock, but I appreciated this multifaceted approach, if you want to call it, in life, because seeing different types of opportunities and different types of people. So it has really shaped my upbringing and my worldview, if you want to call it.
Yeah. I guess you have a very interesting story where you basically start US, Canada, and then US. So how was that experience?
It's been great. If I really think about my childhood, Chicago, I was born there, but it's the first less than 10 years of my life, so don't remember, you call memories here and there. But I think my most critical time of my life, where school, university, early career, was all in Canada. Both countries in their own way are pretty similar because multiculturalism, diversity, but also there are some little nuances here and there. And based off my past history, my personal journey, the healthcare system, and like these little things that really play into it. But overall, it's all about the community you build. And it's honestly, between the two countries, you don't feel too much of a difference unless depending on where you are in life and what stage. Like for example, now then I moved back to the US, specifically San Francisco, I can really feel the difference. I would call Toronto a much more diverse and multicultural city compared to San Francisco. But if I look at Chicago and Toronto, they're relatively pretty similar to each other. So it all depends within the two countries too, where exactly are you going? And I haven't really felt much difference between Chicago and Toronto, but Toronto and San Francisco, yes, definitely. I feel like the culture is a lot more in Toronto. I practice religion, so just having that surrounding and that community there as well too. I think it's been unmatched so far for me.
Got you. And you graduated from York University. So, how was that experience overall like for you, and how has it shaped your career as you've progressed
So
so
York
far?
University, as I'm not sure if many of the listeners or viewers know, but obviously it's one of the top universities of Canada and globally as well too, right? So it's been great, and it was, to be honest, one of the closer universities to my place when I lived in Toronto. I lived in a suburb in Markham up north, and it really, I think anything with to do with any experience with my even post-secondary experience, it's all on each individual. You may be in the same program, same university, same, even raised in the same family, but the outcomes can be different, right? So it's all about how you take that opportunity and do with it. And I like to always give the analogy, it's like a buffet. You can go in and get whatever you want. It's up to you and how you want to fill your plate and what you want on your plate. Mix of
Yeah.
academics, leadership opportunities, volunteer opportunities, networking, case competition, mix of everything. And that was my experience. Pretty wholesome, I'd say. And I still to this day think back, and it's been an awesome journey.
Cool. And during your summers or during your time in university, did you do any jobs that helped set you up for your full time role, or was it mostly that you applied straight to full time with some extracurricular
So that's
activities
actually a
in
great
your
question because
university?
in my summers, I actually did on campus jobs and I did jobs on campus. So I did do
Okay.
summer jobs, but they weren't necessarily in my field. So I'm CPA by profession and accounting field or accounting or broadly finance, but none of my roles were in accounting finance. They were like orientation related and different various summer jobs. I was a past leader, which was pretty much, if you want to call it, tutoring. So things like that, various different skills that I learned and that were transferable, if you want to call it, but it wasn't necessarily in my field. And I did apply, I did try, didn't land anything good, didn't even land anything. So at that point, it's a matter of just being persevere through it and take whatever you can get and use that to sort of be a building block to move up and move on with life. And I think that was one of the first early lessons of life where it's like, hey, it
Yeah.
may not work out how you want it to be and what you think may be the ideal journey, but work around it, be open to it, adapt to the changes, and just work through it. I'd say.
Okay. I know I'm probably going down memory lane here, but like in terms of the idea of persevering through not getting certain accounting roles or whatnot during your university year and then eventually getting into Deloitte. So, how did you have that motivation throughout your time in university to know that, okay, I need to get this at the end? What was your driver, I guess? How did you keep your motivation going despite the potential
Honestly,
rejections?
it's like I'm a person who just perseveres anyway. So it's like I won't take no as an answer. So it's like, all right, I want to do this, and this is what I think would satisfy me and fulfill me. So I want to experience. It may
Yeah.
not be the best thing, but I want to at least give it a shot at it. Like I want to get a role somewhere in that field or Big Four. That's what the dream was, if you want to call it, or that's what every accounting student's dream is, to at least get started. That's a good stepping stone and a good beginning. And from the get go, I was like every recruitment season, like it was just like, all right, let's apply to it. Rejected first year, second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year, got it. And that too in itself, that journey has been interesting. And even the fourth year when I didn't get it, it was due to me taking some time off due to medical reasons. And I took some time off. And
Yeah.
from there, when I look back now, it was a blessing in disguise. The fourth time, there's probably some wisdom in every time I got rejected, and I didn't realize it until afterwards.
Yeah.
And in a way, that's how it worked out, and I appreciated it. I'm grateful of how it works. It worked like no regret.
Got you. And did you, I guess you did probably network throughout that entire period, right? Or what was your process in
Yeah,
landing?
networking definitely that was on the forefront. I was just networking day and night. And it was from two aspects. One, obviously, that's what you need in a way in a field, especially like business and accounting.
Yeah.
But also, I liked it. I liked meeting people. I liked learning about different things. And my networking was not only within my field, but also cross sectors, cross industries, where I was in the public sector as well too, meeting people associate ministers or whoever in the public sector and in OPS, Ontario Public Sector, and so on and so forth. It was really cool learning about the different areas, different things, and it was just about I network mostly to build those bridges, build relationships, and learn about the different areas. Okay, I'm learning in school about accounting, but that's subject matter expert of a specific field. How do I get a better understanding of what's going on in the world in different fields? And as they say, there's
Yeah.
an accountant in every field or industry you can think of. So maybe that's an opportunity to shift around and not in and be in a non-traditional industry as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I've been meaning to ask this as well. I know, so you worked your time at Deloitte as well, and you got the CPA as well, but you were also able to do other activities on top of working at Deloitte. Because I remember when I was working at KPMG, the hours of work tend to be long. So I'm curious, like, how did you manage to like squeeze in time to do all these other activities, or even after you completed your time at Deloitte, to continue doing those activities outside of work? Like, how did you get that time?
Honestly, sometimes I question myself about that too. But honestly, it's
Yeah.
just this weird blessing. It's just like you manage yourself, but I feel like this was back in university too, and it continued on into my professional life as well, where I feel like when I think about high school, where I wasn't as involved, I still didn't get stuff done as much. So it felt, I guess the conclusion I've come to, like sometimes when you're like cornered, you find a way to prioritize, manage yourself, and get things done. So in university and after when I was working and before as well too, it was always at least there was that drive and motivation that I want to make an impact. I want to do other things as well too. And I got throw a kick out of it as well too that hey, I want to make an impact. And I want to know that I've made an impact. Whether anyone else knows or not, I don't care. As long as I feel fulfilled that I made an impact, I felt good. And that's where I tried to be involved and worked around it. And it's about communicating, managing with your team members and setting the expectation up front. Hey, I have this commitment. I'm a TA. I have to go to university once a week. I have these other volunteer opportunities or any other activities you are. I feel pretty open and forefront with your team. Especially nowadays, they're
Yeah.
pretty receptive and understanding of what's going on. And even if they're not, it's hey, let's get on the table, let's discuss this because these are my commitments. Um, I mean, something, if you really think about it, like the simple things as if someone wants to practice a religion, for example, on Fridays, you want some time off, like a couple hours to go pray. It's better to, be
Yeah.
open and just have that discussion up front. Be like, hey, this is my commitment. I can work around it, but I want to stay true to it and I want to continue practicing it. So can you accommodate me in some way? So I think it's the first step comes in bringing that up, bringing those commitments up and showing that you're well rounded and you have other things to do as well too. And everyone has things to do, right?
Yeah. So I guess this is like for professionals that are interested in volunteering or joining certain groups. Like, do you have any advice for people who are hesitant to do it because the timing, like they feel if they don't want to commit to something they won't be able to do because work hours might take long? Do you have any advice for that?
I would say two things. Start with something that you like and something you're passionate about, and just incorporate it.
Okay.
It may be incorporating something that you're already doing. So if you're into sports, if you're in a league, maybe help manage the league a little bit, like administratively. If you're doing any other activity on the weekends, maybe try the formulas and see how that goes. And I would say just start small. You don't have to commit to something formal. I think we're in this world where it's not official till I have a title, and it doesn't have to be that. It's like you can informally help with something and then let that take its course and build up from there, I would say. And that's a comfort zone of this is what I'm comfortable and committing to. It's informal, it's fine. And then from there, using that as a jumping ground, like jumping board to go on more into your career and volunteer in a more formal manner as well.
In terms of the shift to Canada and working in Canada now in the US again. So how did you get exposed to that opportunity?
Honestly, I was a U.S. citizen, so I always was planning to move to U.S. at some point, at least to do
Oh, I
some
see. Okay.
work, not
Yeah.
move, I should say. But it was an if I hadn't done it, it would have been a missed opportunity for me. I'm just like, you know what?
Yeah.
When the right role came across, right opportunity came across, I'm just like, you know what? I think early in my career, I can make that shift and I can do this and I
Yeah.
can acclimate myself to the new environment, new work environment, new culture. And San Francisco and Silicon Valley is just known for the whole tech sector. So uh, I took on that challenge and I moved. And it wasn't from a immigration and all that aspect. It wasn't too difficult for me to make that shift. I know people have so much
Yeah.
more to think about. I had to just worry about, okay, I get up and move. What's next type of thing, like from a work and
Yeah.
life perspective, nothing about any of these complications. So it was a privilege.
Got you. And how have you been finding like the working as an accounting manager at Uber? What's the
It's
experience
it's
like
been
so
great.
far?
I think it's been pretty wholesome, I'd say, because it's like a very innovative, fast-paced company, a technology company, and honestly, it's dynamic, fast-paced, and it challenges me to think creatively and adapt quickly to the changing circumstances. Because as you would know, like any tech fast-paced company, it's always and accounting as a profession is always like the thought about as the back office. So it's a second thought. So getting
Yeah.
ahead of that and playing
Right.
catch up, and then after catching up to thinking ahead as well, it's really has opened up and unlocked this set of skills that I didn't know I had potentially. And it's just the company's commitment to innovation and just being me, being involved with the diversity initiatives within Uber as well too. It has just allowed me to be like feel I've contributing in a meaningful way. In a meaningful way.
Got you. So, in terms of connecting or maintaining like the network and building your network, like how have you been going about doing that? Because I remember seeing our old messages and I remember you reaching out and asking. So that was really cool, like in terms of just checking in, like how are you doing? So I found that very interesting and I adopted that partially with some other people. I just reach out randomly once in a
So
while. And so I'm curious.
that's actually an interesting question because I don't necessarily always think of it as a chore, but I like to just check in and I go on LinkedIn often. So if I see someone's name pop up, say, hey, it's been a
Yeah.
while. And I just reach out to check in. And believe it or not, back in university, I connected with so many people and so many professionals that I had to keep track of it. And I think as a university student, I felt a bit uneasy on like how do I start that conversation? What do I do? I've I fell out of touch
Yeah.
for 6 months now. Is it weird if I touch base with them? And mind you, at that point, I'm like, I'm not really looking for a role or anything, a job. I just want to stay in touch.
Yeah. Exactly.
And how do I do that? So I actually created a whole Excel sheet. This was back then. I just put down everyone's names and emails, and I was keeping track of when I was touching base with them. And it was generally, I started off like finding a holiday, like Canada Day, or I think it was a holiday or something like that. And I used to check in during those holidays, be like, hey, hope you're having a great holidays. Any plans for the summer? And like, keeping it straightforward and like something that they'd be excited to talk about. And obviously that wasn't that sustainable, but
Yeah.
that led me to have this habit of checking in. And I started doing this like every holiday season now too. If I have the capacity and time, I do reach out to people and hey, how have your holidays been? It's been a while. And I don't mind, like I've gotten over the fact that like, I used to feel weird. Now I don't as much. It's like, all right, I haven't talked to someone for a year. It's okay. We're all busy. We're all caught up. I'm gonna take that first
Yeah.
step and in rekindling that relationship. And it has to start somewhere, so I might as well start it. If someone's busy and they don't respond back and doesn't want to talk to me or gives me a one-liner, that's fine. That's fine. I don't mind. I'm just trying to keep the relationship going and just want to learn and get insights and see what people are up to. And sometimes you're just excited. I'm sometimes cheering on for people. Like, and I think this is a thing
Yeah.
for a lot of our community as well too, like as Pakistanis. I think we lack sometimes we inspire each other and support each other so much, but then there are some aspects where we don't. And that's I think it's and there's an opportunity for all of us to be like, hey, we should uplift everyone. We should uplift each other so we're progressing together as a community. And it's just not, hey, let me go excel, be the best person. But when I look around, I don't have that support system or no one else is excelling with me. So I think it's just taking that first step. It can be difficult, but once you get over it, it's fun.
No, I completely agree. It's definitely a memorable in terms of the just reaching out to people. I feel that's really important. But I think so. This might be a little hard question, I would say, but if you were to, at least now looking back, if you were to say to your university self any advice, what would it be looking back when you were still maybe a first year or second year university? Now, if you were speaking to yourself, what would that advice be?
Interesting. If I could advise my university self, I would emphasize the importance of
Yeah.
embracing failure as a learning opportunity and taking risk outside of my comfort zone. Because I think of each setback or challenge that I was presented with is an opportunity for growth and self discovery. So, throughout that entire journey, it's essential to remain resilient, adaptable, and just open to new experiences. And that is the time to try, test, fail, get back up, and pat the dirt off and move on to the next stage. So I'd say embracing failure, I think it's the biggest thing of university.
Got you. And for obviously working professionals, you get busy in life and whatnot. And so, do you have any cultural traits from Pakistan that you feel that you would like to maintain in the future? Because obviously, some kind of dilute as the years progress potentially. So, is there some really main ones that you feel are key Pakistani values or cultures that you would like to continue pushing forward as you grow as a person?
I'd say one cultural trait that I believe Pakistani professionals, as a Pakistani, I like to continue to maintain is as we progress in our careers, having that sense of community and then that respect for those family values. And what I'm trying to emphasize here is like the familial support, respect for elders, getting their wisdom, their insights, and then also that communal responsibility instilled within our Pakistani cultures that can be a source of strength and just grounding, especially in times of adversity and uncertainty. Being disciplined, I think, is something that I've learned. It's been ingrained within us from a very young age, and that's how we grow up. And that work ethic and that resilience is pretty much cultivated through the sacrifices of our family members who immigrated, or some of us who are listening and viewing this are also like they themselves have immigrated to the West, right? So it should be honored, say, in one's professional journey. And I think since this is about our Pakistani cultures, I will say two things I always say, and I always try to work towards, and it's sabr and shukr. So patience and appreciation and gratefulness. At times when you're doing
Yeah.
well and things are going well, you continuously be appreciative, grateful of all the blessings, all the opportunities you have, whatever it may be, whatever little, whatever big it may be. And at times of uncertainties and adversaries, continue to be patient. That's the hardest one, I feel like, but slow and steady, you'll get there, and there's usually a blessing in disguise.
Awesome. And I guess we could end off like, what does success mean to you? Like, you can go personal, professional. It's your leave the floor.
Honestly, success
Yeah.
is about making a positive impact, continuously growing and learning, finding this fulfillment, both in professional and personal growth, I'd say. Honestly, when I think about it, it's all about not success isn't a place or position you want to achieve. It's all about the obstacles you're overcoming. So you're being resilient and
Journey.
overcoming obstacles day by day is a success. It's these small things that build up to it. For me, I'm just like, you know what? I'll take it as is. There are definitely always milestones. It's okay, career, I want to do this, I want to try this. But through that, it's you can plan as much as you want, but things will take a turn. But just being open and adaptable to that, I think it's meaningful. But at the end of the day, as long as I'm feeling content, fulfilled, and satisfied with what I'm doing, and it's impacting my overall well-being and making an impact on the greater good, I feel that's a win in my book.
Thank you, Alam, for taking the time on a Friday to get on this interview and get your thoughts on various topics in terms of advice for professionals, as well as your experience at Uber and then getting the job at Deloitte as well, and the struggles you had. So thank you so much for your time, and it was a pleasure
Thank
having
you
you
so
on
much.
as a guest.
It was a pleasure being here, and I appreciate the time. Yes, as you said, on Friday, and we'll talk soon.